After 5 days of silence, a group of 7 Formula 1 teams have issued an incendiary response to the FIA statement of February the 28th that it had reached a settlement with Ferrari after what it described as thorough technical investigations of its engine. A new statement, issued jointly by Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, Renault, AlphaTauri, Racing Point and Williams, goes as far as hinting at possible legal action and demands answers to the many questions raised by the FIA's perfunctory press release. The statement reads as follows. We, the undersigned teams, were surprised and shocked by the FIA statement of Friday 28 February regarding the conclusion of its investigation into the Scuderia Ferrari Formula 1 power unit. An international sporting regulator has the responsibility to act with the highest standards of governance, integrity and transparency. After months of investigations that were undertaken by the FIA only following queries raised by other teams, we strongly object to the FIA reaching a confidential settlement agreement with Ferrari to conclude this matter. Therefore, we hereby state publicly our shared commitment to pursue full and proper disclosure in this matter, to ensure that our sport treats all competitors fairly and equally. We do so on behalf of the fans, the participants and the stakeholders of Formula 1. In addition, we reserve our right to seek legal redress within the FIA's due process and before the competent courts. The statement is then signed by all 7 teams. Question marks have hung over Ferrari's engine performance for the past 12 months, with a series of technical directives designed to curb any possible ways of circumventing the 100 kg per hour fuel flow limit and any excess burning of oil. These suspicions led to the FIA's investigation, although it must be stressed that the FIA has not indicated Ferrari's engine was illegal. The statement from the non-Ferrari teams confirms they were not made aware of this deal before the FIA revealed it publicly. By invoking the standards of governance, integrity and transparency, all words regularly used by FIA President Jean Todt, it makes very clear their dissatisfaction with what appears to be a clandestine deal. The teams, several of which have raised questions about Ferrari's engine performance, are also known to be writing a more extensive letter to the FIA demanding further clarification on this settlement. The FIA's response to that is likely to dictate whether there is any serious possibility of seeking legal redress. The race F1 journalist Scott Mitchell gives his take on the situation, which has split the paddock in two, with Ferrari and its customers on one side and the rest of the teams on the other.
Well, the statement tells us just how unhappy the non-Ferrari teams are with the FIA statement and the settlement that they've reached with Ferrari over the 2019 engine. And it means that we go to Melbourne in 2020 with 2020 cars, still talking about something from 2019. It's clear that the 7 teams involved feel robbed of closure, and they're surprised that the issue could be considered resolved by the FIA in such a manner. The lack of a definitive verdict is frustrating for the teams because they don't understand why they're not being told one way or another whether Ferrari's engine from last year was legal or illegal. If Ferrari's engine was legal in 2019, then say so and explain why. If the engine wasn't fully legal, then say so and explain why. And even if the engine falls into a weird grey area, perhaps Ferrari was doing something that the rules don't necessarily intend but wasn't strictly breaking one, then say so and explain why. But the problem is the FIA hasn't done this. They've chose to say that they've reached a conclusion, but not share what that conclusion is, and say that they've reached a settlement, but not say what that settlement is. A clear answer on whatever the true verdict is the only way to draw a line under this. It's also the only acceptable conclusion as far as the 7 teams that have issued this statement are concerned. It's vital that technical investigations relating to potential illegal conduct are carried out thoroughly and to a proper conclusion. That's what the teams feel are missing from this, which is why they've been moved to issue such a statement. A settlement suggests that a final verdict was either not possible or avoided, and neither of those are outcomes that are particularly good in the interest of transparency, something FIA President Jean Todt has talked about a lot since he came into office. Legal action against motorsport's governing body is not something that gets threatened lightly, so unsurprisingly this was the most interesting and eye-opening part of the statement. The teams were already frustrated last year, around the time of the Russian and Japanese Grand Prix, that the FIA hadn't quite been proactive enough on the issue of Ferrari's performance advantage. So after all of the effort that they went through to get the governing body to pay attention, they feel that they're owed closure And that is ultimately at the heart of the matter. And it means that the team's commitment to pursue it has some genuine substance. Now, whether it reaches the point of an FIA international tribunal or perhaps legal action through civil courts remains to be seen. And it's likely that none of the teams really want to pursue this. It just means that they're willing to in the interest of what they consider to be true justice on the matter. The bottom line is the teams are positioning themselves to go on the attack if necessary. They don't want to, but if they have to, they're prepared to take this action. A court case could descend into a messy, drawn-out saga. It could overshadow the start of the 2020 season, or even rumble on for months. It's not something the teams are going to want, it's not something the FIA is going to want, but it's a sign of just how angered Ferrari's rivals are that legal redress is being considered an option. For now, Formula One heads to the Australian Grand Prix under a cloud of controversy. Behind the scenes talks in Melbourne are a given, but it's unlikely that either party, the FIA or the collective 7 teams, are going to consider this the end of the matter, and it may well be that they pursue it behind closed doors before we even get to Australia. From the FIA side, we're waiting to see exactly how they respond to the team's statement, and from the team side, we know that they're going to write in unison to the FIA in the hope of seeking further clarifications. By the time we get to Australia, this is likely to be far from settled, but hopefully it doesn't drag on too far into 2020. If it does, it's not going to be at the top of anyone's wish list. But if that's what it takes to get this to a proper and just conclusion, then maybe by the end it'll be worth it.
This is going to be one of the major talking points during the Australian Grand Prix weekend, so keep an eye on therace.com and don't forget the hyphen for updates. We'd also like to hear what you think of this latest controversy in the comments below.